Congress is back in Washington following the summer recess, and pro-life leaders are ready for them to get to work on legislation, specifically to defund Planned Parenthood. More than 7 months into the Trump administration, Republicans have failed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare. It was the strategy the pro-life majority had planned to use to defund Planned Parenthood and stop tax dollars from going to health insurance plans covering abortion. Joining us now from Capitol Hill is Senator Steve Daines of Montana. Senator, thank you for your time.
Glad to be with you here, Catherine.
Senator, are the efforts to defund Planned Parenthood and to stop tax dollars from going to health insurance plans covering abortion dead this year? Where do these pro-life efforts stand right now?
Well, it's our #1 battle to think that Planned Parenthood performs over 300,000 abortions a year in the United States. They're the leading abortion provider in our country. And the fact that taxpayers pay for over 40% of Planned Parenthood's overall revenues, over $500 million a year. That's our highest priority. We had a defunding provision in the repeal and replacement of Obamacare that failed by 1 vote in the U.S. Senate. We're going to keep up the fight. We're still going to keep up the fight on repealing and replacing Obamacare and defunding Planned Parenthood. I also serve in the Appropriations Committee. We'll look at riders we can attach to the funding provisions here for the U.S. government to defund Planned Parenthood. It's our highest pro-life goal at the moment. The fight never ends for life, and this is the fight we're engaged in today, defunding Planned Parenthood.
Senator, if pro-life Republicans cannot defund Planned Parenthood, what will the impact be on the 2018 midterm elections?
Well, I think it'll be very significant. Thankfully, pro-life voters are energized, they're reliable, they're faithful, they pay attention, they're informed, and they vote with their heads as well as their hearts, which I'm so grateful for. I was the first Republican U.S. Senator elected to this seat in Montana in over 100 years. One of the first pro-life senators to hold this seat in a long, long time. I'm grateful for the fact that the pro-life community not only fights the battles on Capitol Hill legislatively, but they fight the battles in elections. Oftentimes, the legislative outcomes are defined on the day of the election. That's why it's so important that pro-life voters across this country know the pro-life positions that the candidates hold and to vote accordingly.
Absolutely. You mentioned defunding Planned Parenthood. Are there other pro-life goals you are hoping and expecting Congress will accomplish by this year?
Well, I think another very important piece of legislation is the Pain Capable Act. We've been working with the Susan B. Anthony group to stop abortions after 20 weeks. You think about a 20-week little baby in the womb. They can feel pain. And I think this is an important piece of legislation that we stand a chance here to bring Republicans and Democrats together on. We should all agree that if a 20-week-old baby in the womb has to have anesthesia if there's going to be surgery in the womb, well, that baby can feel the pain. That baby, it's a gruesome thought to think about what a baby feels, the pain during a late-term abortion. Let's come together as a country. Let's come together on some common ground and stop late-term abortions with that Pain Capable Act.
And finally, Senator Daines, can you share with us why you personally are pro-life and how does that impact your work?
Well, Cindy and I have been married for 31 years. We're the parents of 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. I remember when I was working years ago, in fact back in the 90s for Procter & Gamble. We were there working for a U.S. company to produce and sell products into the China market. And one day, this beautiful set of Chinese twins, twin girls, appeared on our doorstep. The mother, who already had 1 baby, got pregnant again. And of course, because of the one-child policy in China, she was not allowed to have these babies, but she fled to the countryside. She gave birth to these twin girls. She was desperate. She dropped the twins off on our doorstep. My wife called me at work and said, "What should I do?" I said, "Sweetie, let's get them some diapers. Let's give them a bath. Let's see what we can do here to get them adopted and get them a home." To fast forward, those babies were adopted by an American family, and today they are 2 beautiful young girls, young women now, who are in college, living in Iowa. And there's a story around why every life is precious. And a story like that just deepens your convictions around why we must continue to fight for life, to fight for those who are most vulnerable, those who don't have a voice.
Absolutely, that is a powerful story. Senator Steve Daines of Montana, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Catherine. I'm glad to be here, and thank you for continuing the fight on behalf of those who can't fight and standing up for those who are most vulnerable. I really appreciate it.
For reaction, analysis, and more on what pro-lifers can expect from Congress in the months to come, we turn to an expert on the matter. Mallory Quigley is Communications Director for the Susan B. Anthony List. Mallory, good to have you here.
Thanks, it's my pleasure.
First off, what is your reaction to what Senator Daines just had to share about defunding Planned Parenthood?
Well, he's absolutely right. This is a major priority for the pro-life grassroots. Donald Trump promised to defund Planned Parenthood and to reroute that money to community health centers that outnumber Planned Parenthood 20-1 nationwide. We're 8 months into this administration, and we haven't been able to do it yet. That's why this week, pro-life leaders, national pro-life leaders, including Marjorie Dan Felser, Susan B. Anthony List, and 9 other leaders, sent a letter to every Republican in Congress and said, can you really call yourselves a pro-life Congress if you can't defund Planned Parenthood? We've got a pro-life president, pro-life Congress. This needs to be done.
The strategy was going to be through the health care bill. Are you going to push for a revival on that? How much so?
Well, you know, the healthcare reform legislation has been resuscitated several times now. There is a small chance, it looks like, that this could be resuscitated once more. And of course, we want to see Planned Parenthood defunded through reconciliation, whether that's on healthcare or tax reform. But reconciliation is the method. And this is a very popular piece of policy. It is something that unifies Republicans. Democrats are having their own internal struggle right now as to what kind of vulnerability that this extreme pro-abortion, extreme support for Planned Parenthood is for them. So now is the time to move forward on this.
As you mentioned, Mallory, pro-lifers have majority in the House, the Senate, they're in the White House. If they cannot get Planned Parenthood defunded, what will the impact be for the 2018 midterm elections?
Right. Well, it's going to be that much more difficult to mobilize people that are very pro-life. Look, we're going into a midterm election, so that's a base election. That's when each party is going to be really concentrated on turning out people that don't always go out to vote. We don't see as high a turnout in midterm elections. So it's going to be that much more difficult to mobilize people that traditionally do go to the polls even during midterms if such a major policy promise isn't fulfilled early on in this administration.
For our viewers who may be frustrated with the gridlock and the fact that Planned Parenthood has not been defunded yet, what would you want to say to them?
I would say stay engaged. Senator Daines is absolutely right. We are the voice for the unborn. They can't pick up the phone and call their legislators, their senators. We've got to stay active and upbeat and engaged on behalf of our constituency, which is unborn children without a voice and their mothers who need protection from abortion and abortion businesses like Planned Parenthood. So I would just urge everyone to really stay positive, to stay informed, because we're in this for a long-term fight. Of course, yes, we know who ultimately wins, but we're called right now in this place and time to take action, and that means defunding Planned Parenthood and not stopping until it's done.
That's a great reminder. Stay positive, stay informed. Mallory Quigley, the Susan B. Anthony List. Thank you.
My pleasure.